Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 676. Now, in this episode, we've done this probably maybe about 15 episodes back, and we decided to do a Q&A, a live Q&A on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all those kind of social media places. So if you want to get involved on the next Q&A or just for live streams in general, go ahead to mainly youtube.com/Joseph Clough, and therefore I can answer your question. In the future, I would potentially like to bring you in, if you wanted to, via audio or at least like a voicemail. That means I can play your voice and I can answer it. And that might be a goal of mine in the future. But in the meantime, as this is being broadcasted live for everyone listening to this on the podcast or the app, we're going to be going through some questions. And these questions are going to be fairly random, and we'll just see what happens as and when it happens. So let's get to it. And of course, by the way, if you haven't downloaded the Hypnosis app, go to freehypnosis.app, and therefore you can download the free Hypnosis app on Android, on Apple, as in the iPhone, and therefore you can listen to all the free tracks, you can create custom hypnosis sessions, you can listen in the day, you can listen as you go to sleep. If you just toggle from the sun to the moon, it gives you a whole different track which guides you to sleep. It's like 15-20 minutes longer. And of course, if you're enjoying the app, go ahead and leave a review. It just means that we can actually help more people in the world based on your review. So that is something that it would be amazing if you could do, because it means we're just helping each other. We're getting the word out there of all the free help, which is 676 episodes being this one. So with that, let's get into some of the questions that we have. Okay, the first question we have is there a self-study program that you have and I should know about by now? Well, if we're talking about self-study, if we're talking about like hypnosis and NLP and things, then all my stuff is via live trainings, whether they're on Zoom or whether they're in person. If you're going to study hypnosis, you really need that live experience. And you can go to NLP Hypnosis trainings.com. I think that's my URL. If not, congratulations with a new business for that domain. But NLPhypnosistrainings.com, and therefore you can get access to that. If we're talking about other things, I do have like my main flagship program, and that is about letting go of the imposter syndrome and all those things. Is a significant investment, but it transforms your life. And you can go to josephclough.info/talk to be able to book a call with us. But if we're talking about self-study to be a practitioner, whether it's with me or other people, please make sure it's not just a watch on a video kind of program. You need the real life experience. You need the exercises. That's a game changer to me, whether it is on Zoom, because we do it, so we partner up people into Zoom rooms, and then we pop in there and make sure everything's going swimmingly well. But make sure you go ahead and have a live training if you are going to be a certified hypnotherapist or practitioner of any sort. And that could be for anything. I really don't think you learn enough when it comes to becoming a practitioner. And that's really, really important to me. Okay, we got another question right here, which is the question: if you feel stuck in an area of your life, you keep trying so many methods but keep failing and getting frustrated, do you think there's something in your subconscious that is not congruent with your goals? That's a great question, Rosie. So my big thing is this, because we've got two little ideas here. If we're feeling stuck in every area in our life, and therefore we're trying many things, we are aiming at either a problem, okay, there's a problem there, and also the goal and outcome. My main thing is that we should stop working on our symptoms. So maybe the lack of clarity, the lack of taking action, the lack of fill in the blank, is not the real issue at hand. The real issue is we haven't found the root cause. I highly suggest that you find someone who is able to get out your own way ultimately. Like when I do my program, and I feel like I'm selling twice now when it comes to like my trainings and my main flagship program, but just take this as an idea, as a theory, regardless of my system. We make sure that we work on the root cause of what's getting in your way. We refuse to work on symptoms. Symptoms are just signals for you to pay attention to, which hopefully, with the right person, finds the core of all those symptoms. So that'll be my first idea for you. Because if we're trying many things, let me have this as an analogy for you. Let's say you've tried 10 methodologies. Could be 10 practitioners, 10 different types of practitioners. I don't think all of them are going to be bad. There may be a few bad ones in there, but if we've tried so many times using different methods and we haven't got the result, I like to assume responsibility. Like if that were me, I'd be like, what's happening here? There can't be all bad vehicles of change or vehicles of who's doing the practice or being the practitioner. So then that always leads me, because usually I'm like one of the last points of reference of people. I've tried all these different things and then they go to me. And the reason why I become, I believe, the last person they see is because I find the root cause. So I would be really going all in figuring out, okay, what is the root cause that I'm experiencing? What's really happening here? And like I said, if it's not me, find someone who can support you with that, because it will be a subconscious block. I really believe that. And here's the reason why as well. If you could consciously change, right? If you could consciously change just by clicking your fingers, if that was something that you could do, then automatically you'll be free of the issue. It won't exist anymore. But if you can't just click the fingers and let it go, it must mean to me that your unconscious mind is running the issue. Whether we call it unconscious or subconscious, we've got to realize it must be there, otherwise you would let it go all by itself. So that's why we go in the inner world. And like I said, get to that root cause. That root cause is usually, as a little tip for most people here, and also you, Rosie, most of the time, it's going to be a belief system, an identity complex, or an identity conflict. In other words, a part of me really wants this, but there's a part of me which doesn't believe it. Where I have an identity about myself and the world. Like I can't have money, and the money is bad. It's still how I identify with it. So once you let go of the identity conflict, you're able to then let go of all the symptoms which was generated from it. So really, if you're feeling stuck in every area of your life and you keep trying all these different things, I'd be going, okay, it can't be all the different things, because some of them should work, unless we've had so much bad luck. But I tend to think there's going to be some methods which will work, and therefore, if they did not work, we worked on the wrong thing, which is we've not been working on the core of the issue. That's why I believe my program is successful, because I'm pretty good at getting it just like that and then letting it go with the program. Okay, next question. If you have follow-up questions, feel free as well, by the way. So, Monica's got a great question here saying, hi Joseph, how do we try to enjoy the upcoming warmer weather in summer, life, etc., knowing that others in the world are trying to survive right now? I hope that's not too deep. And I said this before the stream, I don't think there are too deep questions. Sometimes they're not appropriate questions to be asked on live streams and so on, but in this case, look, it's a very important thing. Now, it always reminds me, and I did not know about this person because I grew up in England, and I don't think I ever got to England, but it reminds me of Mr. Rogers. And there was like an episode on this when I can't remember what conflict what was going on at the time. And it was all about obviously like kids getting stressed, right? Like what's going to happen? There's a lot of fear in the world. So number one, the thing that he said when there are times, I'm going to paraphrase, but one of the things you do if there's times of stress and conflict elsewhere, and that's consuming you like it can be right now, where it been the pandemic, where it be the things in Ukraine, all those kind of things. I mean, it's been happening all the time, by the way, like in different countries all the time, when it comes to unfortunate things. But he said, look for the helpers. Now, the reason why that's so good is because if we are consumed by that fear, we're not going to really be happy. But if you look for the helpers within that experience, you're changing your frame of reference. So yes, bad things are happening, but also look for what is happening that is good, like the people actually trying to make a difference in that location. Now, the other thing, because I think that's real important for everyone to know, in times of conflict, bare minimum, we got to look for those trying to help and solve the situation, because that means, look, there's light there. There's people being an example of what can be done. And that's what I look for inspiration. Now, if we're talking about, look, everything's good in my life, but I kind of feel bad that I've got a good life, well, to me, you are not doing anyone any good favors by you feeling bad. Like, it's not helping people, you feeling bad. Now, you may not like it and you may feel bad, but the way you get out of that is, what can you do about it? What are the things that we can do to make the world a better place? I always like the sentence of leaving the world in a better place than you found it. So although we may not be able to help the people in different countries, where it be famines or wars, and we can if we donate or things like that, but what can we do? What can we do to be the example that can be done? What can we do physically in helping our neighbor, in helping our community? Because when you're doing acts of service, you will realize that maybe I cannot help that person, but I know down the road there's still someone suffering. I know in my city there's someone who hasn't got it as good as I have. And to me, I mean, if I think about my podcast, which is This Is the Podcast, when I think about my podcast, I think about it as that's how I started. Like, I had a set of ideas that I wanted to try to communicate. And I did it, obviously, incredibly free, because it's costly for me to be able to do this. But I was like, look, I want to be able to do something in the world. I can't solve world hunger. I can't solve everyone's issue. But what can I do? What can I do in my life which will be an act of service? And that's my love language, by the way. So that's probably one of the motivations that I have. But I thought, well, I know what I can do. Like, I've been through fear. I've been through the dread. I've been through the scarcity. I've been through all these issues. So if that is the case, what can I do to be the example of that change? And I thought to myself, well, I'm pretty good at letting go of issues. I was walking one-to-one and doing some trainings. So I started to find a way of getting my stuff out there. Now look, we're 12 million downloads. We're hitting 120, 150,000 downloads every single month on the podcast. And that is one of my acts of service. And I do other things, of course, where it be some forms of charity or forms of helping people who I know who aren't in that place. But if I do that, then although I can't solve every issue, I'm going to be an example of what can be done. I'm going to be an example what is to my neighbor or to the person in need. When you do that, you can have gratitude for what you have, but also gratitude that you're making an impact in the world. So that's what I would do. That's how I see things. It's a great question, Monica. I loved it in every single way. Remember the Mr. Rogers quote, though, look for the helpers. MZ really says, can people really be hypnotized to do crazy things and not remember it? 100%. I know this from experience because I've done stage hypnosis before. I was like, I've learned therapeutic hypnosis. I want to be able to figure out what is stage hypnosis. So I went on a live course. And the reason why stage hypnosis works is this. Two kind of people go to stage hypnosis shows. The first one is those to look at people do silly things, and the other set of people are those to do those. They want to be up there. When it comes to making people do these things, the hypnotist doesn't say, I want you, 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 and you. they ask for volunteers and they get them to do suggestibility tests. Whether, like I do on my trainings, we get people's hands stuck together just to show them what can be done. And if they then succeed those tests, so there's an audience of say 500 people, 100 people will go up there, about 50% of those will be good hypnotic subjects, and then it'll diminish after that because then we only stick with 10 people. So ultimately, if we think about it in that way, we can make people do those things because they have volunteered it, right? They volunteered to be in that situation. So there's a compliance there. The other thing is, it can take training up. It can get people, take time to go in and out of trance, in and out of trance, in and out of trance, and then with the suggestion to make them forget. It is easily done. I've done it many times, where it be number blocks, name blocks, making people forget their names, hands stuck to tables, all that kind of stuff. But they all volunteered for it. I'm not going to just walk up to someone and try and get someone to do it. The other thing is, over time, if we think of like, say, a subject I'm fascinated with is like cults and everything. If you look into that, it's a long process of continuous hypnotic embedded languages to skew their view of the world, to make them believe in something better than themselves or greater than themselves. And also on top of that, if they're in a place of not being happy, it's easier to be able to sell them into something like that. And that's why we see some cults and things like that in the world. But you can make people do things, and the reason why I say that, they give up money, they give up their family, all of those things. So yes, it is all possible, but realize this, it's all about intention. See, when I do my hypnosis sessions or these calls and these live streams, my intention is a thing which drives me forward. The intention to be able to hopefully help someone today on this stream. Even if it's just one person, the intention then goes through. If you have wrong or bad intentions, that's when things become an issue. And the other thing is, which I didn't think about until, well, I knew about, but I didn't think about it until this moment. Your unconscious mind is the thing that runs your values, right? It runs the values of you. If you have a value to not rob a bank, you're not gonna rob a bank. If your values were a little bit sketchy, I could rob a bank, then maybe the hypnosis would expand upon that. But once again, it can take time. In fact, Darren Brown did the whole TV show on getting people to rob a bank, but it was time consuming. It was a lot of their willingness to do these things to a degree and then just expanding upon it. So yes, that is possible. Someone did say, where do I get the book? As in my book, Be Your Potential, because we are doing a live giveaway. It's on Amazon, it's on eBay, some places like online stores, bookshop stores, places like Target, Walmart. Search my name, Joseph Clough, for Be Your Potential, and it should be there. Mihelina says, could you describe the course of your day? No need to share all the details, just have an idea what's daily routine of a successful entrepreneur. So, my routine does vary because I've built myself to have a certain level of freedom. One thing is, I usually wake up whenever I want. That's what I don't have alarms really, unless it's really early and I got to go to a meeting of some sort. But I wake up naturally, and I don't sleep in. I'll get up at like 7, 8 o'clock every morning, which may be late for some people, but that's like a good time for me. And then I do my mindset work. I figure out what goals I want to hit on this day, what I'm going to be ferociously focused on. I'm a big believer on one prime focus. Going all in on something to get it done in the quickest possible time. I love focus. That's why my super what's the word I'm looking for? One of my superpowers is having learned to get super focused on the one or two things to make it a reality. That means I don't get into self-sabotage. I don't get into overwhelm. So I do my mindset work, and people who are in my program get this as well. I have my own set of custom hypnosis sessions. One is to create your day, so I listen to that in the morning, or I listen to it on a run, and then I get my unconscious mind to do what it needs to do, and then take action. And for everyone listening, when it comes to things like working out, I try to do 4 miles every day, if not go to a personal trainer. And also, it's not that controversial, but I only eat once a day. That saves me a ton of time. I only eat once a day, and I'm always fueled and efficient that way. That's just my body type. I don't suggest it because it's just my body type or my preference. And I only drink water throughout the day as well. No teas or coffees. So then, getting to bed, I learn from my day. Here's the thing. I create my day in the morning, and then at the end of my day, I go into reflection mode of what can I learn from my day. Not to reflect on necessarily the bad things, but sometimes I just reflect on the good things. Because if I reflect on the good things, I can then get my unconscious mind to realize I'm going to focus more on that then. They did a study, and I think it was with Gregory Bateson, and on this study it was how dolphins would be able to learn to do tricks. And I can't remember all the details, but simplistically it was like this. Like, you give them a fish, what they do a trick, you give them the fish. Do a trick, give them the fish. So they knew that if they did this trick, they would get a fish. So it's like highlighting the good thing they're doing to get the reward. Sometimes they wouldn't get a fish for doing that trick, and it would make the dolphin do something extra special, and then they get a fish. And what it really came down to is that when you focus on what you did good, your unconscious mind's like, I'm going to do more of that then. I'm not focusing on problems. I'm focusing on what's good and getting better at that. So that's how I like to do feedback in general, ideally. I'm pretty specific in my feedback sometimes, but to grow, I really like to point and shine a light on what I did good that day, so my unconscious mind will go, I'm going to repeat that again, and then expand upon it, and guess what happens? Everything else gets lifted up. That's my learning strategy when it comes to things like that. So let me go ahead. Oh my goodness, there's lots of questions I haven't seen yet, so let me go ahead. Alison said, the custom tracks are the best. They are the best. I love them. Like, I listen to my own as where I go to sleep or in the day. My Create Your Day ones are my fantastic ones I love because I have different music attached to it, from the chill out version to the cinematic version. Like, it sets up your day. It's like eating a good breakfast. I don't eat breakfast in the morning, number one. But for most people, healthy breakfast in the morning sets you up more likely to eat better food throughout the day, right? So most people enter their world, their day, as if they're on this carousel, right? I remember as a kid, you used to get on this circular thing and move around. There's some bars there, and you spin it as fast as you can go. And if you were really, really crazy, people would have like a little motorbike there, put the motorbike down with the wheel to make it really fast. Not recommended. But it's almost like we enter our day trying to jump on this carousel thing, going 20 mile an hour, and you're just gripping onto life. That's when we go ahead and wake up, look at our phone, check our emails before we got out of bed. Before all these things, you got to get your mind right. You got to be able to really focus on yourself first, so therefore you can make the biggest impact in the day. And the other thing I do as well, just so you know, I do not look at the news in the morning. I look after myself in the morning. I don't go on social media in the morning. I look after myself first. Once I'm in that state, which gets automatic after a while, having just done the custom hypnosis so often, although I still do it because it makes me feel good, but automatically my brain is geared up to feel good quicker, and therefore I can then approach the news and things like that if I wanted to, which I rarely do. Question here, will you be my mentor and coach me personally to become the best version of myself? Well, I do have a program. It is an invested program. It's an 8-week system, and I actually do mentor people on a monthly basis as well, but there is a significant investment to it, and it's got to be something that I want to work with. So the best thing to do is mainly like the main program of the mentorship, you could say, is to go to josephclough.info/talk. And as you go to josephclough.info/talk, you book a call with us, you fill out an application, see if we're a good fit on the application, then we take the call, we figure out where you are, where you want to be, and if you're a good fit, we win and maybe invite you into the program. But there is an investment attached to that, because custom hypnosis, I mean, I love them. It takes a lot of time. Even things like one-to-one sessions for my higher end clients, it takes time. And I do level of giving back mentorship, but that is all fully booked up because my days are so busy. Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm very efficient, but I can only do so much. But investment wise, yes, absolutely. Just based on that. So Sarah says the hypnosis training isn't the website. Okay, so I think let's go ahead for everyone on the live stream. Make sure I get it right, because that's always helpful. NLP. You can, oh actually, yeah, you can go to, let's break this down. NLP. I wish I knew my own. Okay. There's a C, California School. Okay, here's one. So you can go to csnlph.com, which stands for California School of NLP and Hypnosis. Okay, so I'm gonna just put that maybe in the chat on YouTube to make it a little bit easier, and makes it a little bit easier. So better csnlph.com. I know I own that other domain as well, but we did switch things over recently. Okay, Han says, what, if any, correlation are you able to identify the difference between a person's going through a global financial crisis versus recovering from a global pandemic, or is it too early? There was a sentence that I heard once, and it was, I refuse to participate. Now that might seem like, Josie, you can't apply that in every situation if there's a pandemic going on or things like that. But in any situation, there's still someone getting rich. Like, we know who got rich from the pandemic, right? Like, we got a lot of pharmaceutical places. But there was also places like Zoom, which I've been using for years before that, but lots of companies went to Zoom to carry on. So I think for me, it's about resiliency, and to identify the differences between a recovering and crisis. I think I don't really look into that. I kind of go into, like, what can I offer? What can I do to solve issues? Because in those times, whether it be crisis or whether it be recovery mode, that is where innovation happens. Promise you, innovation does not happen in times of happiness, because everything's good and great. You don't need to innovate in times of peace and love. I mean, I wish that was the case, but rarely we don't innovate. So I like to see crisis, or crises, would you call it, as an opportunity to innovate in providing something big and powerful to support people in every single way. Okay, we've got a lot of questions. How did I get my first client? My first ever client was when I was doing it I traded with a work colleague of mine. That was technically my first client. Then myself and my father, we built a website, and it's back in the early days, and we got some traffic from there, and also we advertised in the local newspaper, which is way, like, 2 decades ago. So, but that's how I first got my client, just telling people I do hypnosis. Got an issue. And the other thing is, when you're talking to people about your services, as an idea here, if you think they're a good client, don't say, look, I'd like you to be my client. You ask people, ask that person, do you know anyone who experiences X, Y, Z? And they'll say, yes, that's me, if it is going to be them. But if not, you're not selling them. You're selling them the idea of what you do, and therefore you're able to help them, or they will refer to you, right? So you're not selling them, you're selling them what you do. And if it resonates with them and you're not directly saying, look, I want to work with you as a client, you say, look, if I knew someone who was suffering from imposter syndrome, and I'll be like, look, just so you know, I do let go of imposter syndrome really, really quickly and all those kind of things. And do you know anyone who would benefit from that? And immediately, and I mean, that's real paraphrasing, but ultimately, it's a non-selling technique. It's a non-selling technique because you don't know if you want them as a client, and you don't know if they got that issue. So you're just asking them to be able to figure that out, if they're a good fit. How many sessions is your stuff to take, uncover, and reprogram root cause? So my main program is like an 8-week, this is from Sarah, by the way, and it's an 8-week system, and we get to the root. I mean, I get the root cause within 20 minutes, usually half hour. Don't mind how long you've ever had it. It's just what I'm like. That's a superpower of mine. Like, because I've had 20 years of clients, I know the traits without making judgments. And so I find it really quickly. And then my program comes with a custom tracks, one-to-ones, group coaching, all those kind of crazy things, modules which are profound in the transformation. Some let go of the issue in 80% of the issue in just one module. And I say within 8 weeks. That's what I go for. And then you just let it all go. Let's see. You're more than welcome, Rosie. If I missed any, feel free to go ahead and let me know. Another question here. Question from my boyfriend. Do you have a method or a main tip to help stop procrastination? Okay. Love it. Procrastination is once again a symptom, right? And there could be like identity issues. In terms of, let's just say, if I don't believe I'm good enough, then I might procrastinate doing that task, right? Because I'm like, what if I fail? What if I get rejected and all those things? So I would look at identity work, but here's the thing that I do. I increase leverage. Leverage to me is something so awesome. For example, in my program, I get people to come up with 100 reasons as to why they should change. Makes them think a lot. But the reason I do it is to get them to leverage why they must change. So if we're talking about doing a task, I like to do a couple of things. I want to be able, I mean, if it's small, then I'll get to that in a second. But let's say it's kind of big. I write down all the reasons why I've got to do it right now. What's it going to get me? What if I don't do it right now? Like, I want the pain, I want the pleasure. The worst place anyone can be in this general is to be in no man's land, right? To be in no man's land. You just existing. It's not painful. It's not hard. I'll quit smoking next week. I'll lose weight next week. I'll get that business next week. I'll focus my issues sometime in the future. Worst place ever. You got to be able to go on a journey. It's like the Dickens approach when you think of Christmas Carol. We've got to go to the future, the present, and the past, right? And the reason being is to wake and shake someone out of it. So if it is a big issue, what I look for is be able to get as much pain, and it sounds like, Joseph, you don't want to get people in pain. No, I want them to get consequences. It's more painful staying doing nothing. So I want to figure out what is stopping them. What's going to be the consequence of not doing it? Make them recognize that. Oh my goodness, if I don't do it, this stuff's going to happen to me. And then if that's the case, I want them to have the heaven. What are they going to do? Now, if we've got both sides of the heaven, all the reasons what will happen, they can't be in the no man's land anymore. They can't, or they can, but they got to really decide upon it, because they know in that place they will just and only be going into the hell or the problem of the issue of not doing it. So I really try to get people out of, and this myself, out of the no man's land to really discover the problem and the solution. Now, if it's small things, the problem is that most people focus on the action of getting it done. But the action of getting things done is not the motivation. That's the vehicle. That's the action. The vehicle of transformation of getting things done is to go to the successful completion of that thing, right? So if you're thinking of a task, most of the time, you're thinking, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and all these things. However, if we think about it, if I go into the future to the successful completion of having got that thing done, now I feel good. I'm like, yeah, I want to get there. I want to be there. I want to be able to feel good. So even just hallucinating in your mind, because usually we're before, because we haven't got it yet, and we focus on all the stuff we got to do, which makes us kind of procrastinate. I get my mind to go to the successful completion, and therefore it has the reward there. It's like, I want to be over there because I've been there in my mind. I'm not there in reality, so I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. So go to the successful completion. Works with anxiety as well, because anxiety is focusing on what you don't want to happen, but if you start to focus on what you do want to happen and the successful completion of it, sometimes a lot of anxiety can be diminished. Not fully if we got issues about it, like I said, limiting beliefs, but overall it's going to make a difference right there. Leah says, do I have a faith? That's a good question. Now, usually I keep my faiths and things like that personal because it's my personal life experience and things. But I'm always open and honest when people ask questions. Like, I don't judge people for their faiths. Look, I think we're all... Here's my faith. Ultimately, I believe we're all interconnected. I believe we're a sea of energy condensed into matter. Sounds weird, maybe woo-la-la, but I believe that we are all interconnected. We're entangled, right? We're entangled and connected, and we're a part of the greater whole, and therefore, if we're a part of it, then we're obviously a smaller part of it, if that makes sense. So what's contained within the part has the containment of the whole, and vice versa, the whole has a containment of the part. So I'm more into that way of thinking. I'm spiritual. Religious-wise, I wouldn't say I necessarily follow a certain religion. Like I went to Catholic school, that might be a reason. But ultimately, I believe that we're all interconnected. Oh, and here's the other thing, like, the thing that I wrote once is really, it sums up how I see life, and that is, in light in the illusionary darkness, there is only love. I'm the everlasting moment of oneness, I am love. So if I were to bring everything to everything, it would be, I have a faith of love. That's what it is, my love of the ness, the love, and all those things. So that's what I would go for. But in the same notion, look, I don't judge anyone's faith. I don't judge if you're not, if you don't have a faith. Like, it's not for me to make any forms of judgments. And I respect other people's model of the world. Don't have to always agree with it. Like, you may not agree with me, but that's how I like to see things. MZ really says, the mind is so fascinating. Thank you for answering my question. I have another one now, but not sure if there's time. Hey, I'll keep going. I don't mind. I like it. Mihalina says, I love the dolphin example. Yes, that's giving someone a fish, ultimately, by pointing out to what is good. And the other reason why I say that, because I'm having fun. I'll go on until we finish, whenever we finish. The reason being is, do you remember the feedback sandwich and they called it a different name? It was beginning with an S and it ended with a T, and there's an I and a H in there somewhere. And it's always about feedback of like, say something good, then give all the criticism, and then leave them with a little bit of something good, which is like a feedback sandwich. But everyone's like, look, I know what's going to happen. You're going to give me something good, and then you tell me what it's really about, and you kind of soften up at the end to say, oh, okay. No, I like to focus on just consistent growth and success, so I like to focus on what I did well, so it brings all my energy up, and I do that. I intentionally try to do that with everyone when it comes to transformation. That's my plan anyway. Let's go ahead and see what other questions we have. Yeah, so the website wasn't working. Okay, so csnlph.com. There we go, it did work. Let's see. Kevin Michael Reed says, even if you're listening to the podcast, Kevin Michael Reed helps me on the stream. But he says, in times of crisis, that is also when the inner turmoil is activated, primarily because we have to stop and think. It reminds me of your stories about executives who reach a point of success and then have to finally have a chance to reflect, and that's when imposter syndrome comes into play. Absolutely. So to refresh people, most entrepreneurs have nothing, so they go all out to make something. Got nothing to lose. Then they get that level of success, maybe attention's on them, where it be media, where it be like payroll, all those things. Now they got something to lose. And then they question their own ability, go, am I an imposter? Can I really do this? And that's for those who are business owners, for executives, and they feel like they're going to get found out. So absolutely true. You're more than welcome, Helena, saying that's such a great idea. Thank you. Thank you, Nesta, saying, I love the fact that you care about everyone. Like, it goes back on these, I'm trying to catch up with probably a lot of, or a couple here, but yeah, that's just my belief system, and or my truth. But whatever your truth is, and to everyone in the whole world is fine. Just live your truth. Okay, so I think that is the questions that have been answered. Now, this is a live stream and there is a book giveaway, so even if you're back at home listening to this, the question to get the book is this, signed and delivered, is this. What age did I start and become a hypnotist? That will be the question. First person who types in a message, I'll send a book out to you and do a little note and things like that. And for those who are listening to the replay, go to youtube.com/Joseph Clough, and therefore you can be in a chance to win a book or anything like that. So still waiting. Not years ago, what age was I? That's the question. Are we gonna get a winner? And like I said, for those listening on the podcast, I might edit this out, who knows, just based on the time that I have, but go to youtube.com/Joseph Clough, and therefore you can go ahead and join the live streams. Be sure to like and subscribe and things like that. So I can see some answers coming in. Some people who have the book, it is in the book on one of the last pages. And also, while we get those in, if you want me to personally coach you to get you to where you want to be with the imposter syndrome, go to josephclough.info/talk, and therefore you can go ahead and apply to work with us. We'll get clear on what you're going through, because you could book a call, you fill out an application just to prepare us, and then we get clear on where you are, where you want to be, what's getting in the way, and come up with a plan to make it a reality. It is an investment. It is kind of significant. I mean, the returns you get like 100-fold back, no problems, but it is an investment because it's fully customized and you've got to be willing to do whatever it takes to make it a reality. So that's josephclough.info/talk. And while that was happening, there was an answer. So just to go through it, MZ really said 17. No. Leah says 19. No. Allison said 17. No. Mihelina said 18. No. Yes, it is 18 years old. I started at 18. And therefore you get the book, and I know you're in Swansea, it may take a bit of time. I will write a little note and sign it if you wish, but yes, I started at 18 20 years ago, which is pretty awesome. Lacey says, I know it's been 20 years since you've been doing it, so I'm guessing 21. Nope, that makes me look older than I am though, so thank you for that. Goodness gracious. Allison came in a close second at 18 there as well, but it was after Mihelina and after Lacey's comment right there. So some people said 22, 28. So close, yes. And Mihelina says, oh my God, so happy, yes. It is, like I did say, it is the first person, so I only have so many books to give away, but I have got more, so go ahead and we'll do another one very, very soon. But it was first person, and Kevin says, wow, you're old. Yes, I am. But Lacey did say sorry about that. That's all good. I was only playing around right there. But yes, there's only one book per pass, or one book per stream. We've given away 2 this week now. So feel free to attend the next ones, and we'll try and do some more. Yes, we need some Clough trivia right there. Okay, my friends. I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. I've been speaking for 45 minutes because with the pre-show and everything like that. Melian says, I'm so glad I didn't fall asleep. 11 p.m. for you right now. That is right. So yeah, you won the book. So that is awesome. And yeah, thank you for all being here. I'm going to close off the podcast episode and then we'll finish off on the live stream. So I look forward to speaking to you on a future episode, and the next episode is going to be a hypnosis track for you, all for free. So many thanks and goodbye.